coming back. And but that morning, I jumped out of that bed and I grabbed hold of a notebook and I started writing. And what came onto that paper was just, it was in no order. It was just a flood of memories, of incidents, of bad things that happened to me. And that is how the book started. And I must also say that at that point, I did not, at that stage of my life, I had no intention of writing a book. It was just, I felt that writing these notes was just bringing healing to me, somehow, to go back and revisit. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. Because now that you're talking about writing and journaling, I know that many a times when you go and you speak to, when a person goes and you speak to professionals, one of the things that they actually encourage is journaling your emotions or writing down emotions. And look at what came from you writing down emotions. And with that, let me just encourage all the ladies, and not even ladies, you know, people think for the fact that I'm interviewing a lady.
Right.
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten.
And we are back. So we're talking about, to our guest, Sharon Liberty, and she is the author of Get Over It, a book that she wrote, and it is a life journey from brokenness to breakthrough. And we are talking about the question which I read something on your page, on your Facebook page, which also grabbed my attention. It was where you spoke about, you know, how you forget certain situations, or how forgetting is sometimes and very often survival. Talk to me about that. What, because I found that very interesting. You know, people in abusive situations use that sometimes as a survival tool. Now, did you survive all those years by trying to forget? Talk to us around that.
Okay, there's trying to forget is a built-in survival instinct that we have, and often it is just better to forget. Jy weet, jy wil nie altyd hy lelike goed onthou nie. But in my experience, I've learned that sometimes it is better to go back and revisit those bad incidents in order to get healing, and revisit those emotions. And the reason why I say that is, whilst you are in that storm, whilst you are in that bad situation, especially women, we tend not to deal with the pain and the hurt that we have or that we experience. We try to keep up a front for people outside, and also try to keep the peace in the house, and also because maybe it's too painful to deal with those situations.
Now, if you say that, you know, that it's a coping mechanism,
Yeah.
I know that I think most of us, like you say, it's a survival instinct that kicks in for us as humans, and not necessarily for us as women, because like I said, you know, your story appeals to men and women, because everybody's got emotions, everybody goes through some form of challenges in life. So we all need to find what we can do, you know, to get ourselves out of our circumstances, obviously through God. But with that, what do you say to others that find themselves today in a abusive marriage, in an abusive relationship, wat nog even voor marriage is, you know, if you can
Yeah.
advise somebody, save somebody from what is to come. Sê vir my, praat bietjie met my rondom dit.
I think the first thing that you need to know is you have to acknowledge that the relationship that you're in is an abusive relationship, because sometimes we get used to the abuse and that becomes our norm. Ek is gewoond aan dit, so this is my norm. Secondly, if you are in danger, or if you are being abused, you need to have a safety plan. You need to talk to a close friend and family, or a counselor, seek counseling. You must also know this when it is time to get out, not just for your own sake, but also for the sake of your children, if there's children in the marriage, you know. And then you must always remember that God will not just take away the pain, but you must know when it's time to walk away from the pain. And always bear in mind that whatever the situation is, you will get through it. You will land safely on the other side.
And I'm so glad that you actually mentioned that you will land safely on the other side. The second half of the show is linked to how God is a finisher and how God manifests himself in our lives in so many ways. And sometimes people get stuck in that situation of brokenness, and they don't allow God to finish the work regardless of the situation that has happened, but allow God to finish it. If I look at your life today, it speaks about God being a finisher. It speaks about God, whatever the circumstances in your life was back then, there was God came, finished it, and he turned it around. Good. So I am definitely agreeing with you that, you know, that God will not just take the pain away, but you must get up and walk away, and to also know that you will get through this. So rebuilding, talk to us about what the process of rebuilding was, you know, elaborate with us on that, because that is what we want to emphasize. Remember, the wellness show is all about living life and not surviving life. And I think rebuilding is about, at the end of the day, getting back to a point of living your life and no longer surviving.
Yeah, salvation is the most important foundation that any person can have in order to rebuild anything, especially your life. And this does not mean that there is no struggle, that the pain is less and the circumstances. God doesn't take you around things, but He's taking you through things. But it also means that by landing on the other side again, I'm going back to landing again. God will take you through the things and take you through the struggle, but you will land on the other side. And that's where grace comes in. I did not, let me explain to you how I rebuilt.
Yes.
I did not fly high. I did not set high goals for myself. I really rebuilt my life one step at a time. And I think I will not go into detail now, but my family and you guys will know how I started off with basically nothing. I had nothing. I didn't have a fridge. I didn't have couches to sit on, but I really rebuilt my life one step at a time. And that is why when I wrote this book, in the chapters of rebuilding, I write my excitement about buying an egg lifter. Waar ander mense excited raak om 'n TV te koop of om wat te koop, het ek excited geraak vir 'n egg lifter, because that was our first egg lifter in the house. I did not measure myself with other people. I was running my own race, and I knew my limitations with my salary. I knew that, and I had no maintenance income for children. So I did not measure myself to what other people have. I was just running my own race. In fact, To the extent when I was ready to buy a house,
Mm.
I was sitting with a newspaper in my father's car, and I saw this ad of this very small house.
Yes.
And I knew that this was going to be my house. So I bought the smallest house in the street. And that is that is how I rebuilt my life. Small little steps, one little step at a time. And I made my salary work for me. And I didn't earn a lot of money. I used to buy on sales. I negotiate. I went to the school to negotiate school fees to be reduced. But I lived a cut and paste life in order for me to survive and rebuild my life.
Wow. And I wanna read what you wrote on Facebook regarding rebuilding your life. You explained it to us now, but I just want to read it because it's so encouraging. And I remember, for those of you that don't know, I actually didn't say it. Sharon Liberty is my sister-in-law. So die Liberty van is definitief, sy is my skoonsister. Ek dink nie ek het dit genoem nie. But I remember that time in your life, I remember we were part of the rebuilding process, and the little house that she bought, little house on the prairie, and it was actually such a good investment. If you, if you just allow God to lead you, I look at your life and I look at your house today, and I see how you allowed God to just lead you and the Holy Spirit to just guide you, and I see how phenomenal your life has turned out. So I want to read that quickly before we go on. You said on Facebook, on your Get Over It page, you said, reflecting back on my years as a single parent brought back a lot of memories. I was earning a very low salary, and to add to that, I didn't get maintenance for the children. I remember how on a Saturday morning, I would go to the store in our area to buy the food specials. I bought just enough of the basics for the three of us to last throughout the following week. During that time, it seemed to me that I was being overlooked by family and friends. Strange enough, at the time, I expected people to see my obvious needs and struggles, but that never happened. You know what? It's so amazing. It's actually funny that you are mentioning that, because I recall talking to a lot of people whereby they say that. Strange enough, you look at people around you and expect them to see the need, but they actually don't when you're in that situation.
Yes.
And I've heard your story now, so many other women as well, actually echoing exactly the same thing. And you said, yeah, it ultimately turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I had to stretch our food reserves and money so that I would not stand ashamed by asking from family and friends. God was and still is gracious to me. Long story short, I would often sit in my lounge and appreciate that which I have built up during the struggle years. I've become a minimalist in the process because my focus has changed. I love that. If you want to read more about it, you can actually go onto the Facebook page, Get Over It, of Sharon Liberty. So you spoke to us about how you rebuilt your life. And also the last portion, tell us about the financial situation that we in. Oh, you did elaborate on that. So what is it that you want to share with the audience today that they can take away, a last portion? You know, what do you want to take away from this today?
Yeah. I've seen this a lot on Facebook also days where people cry out their needs on Facebook, and people want people around them to notice the need.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you are in that financial situation, you tend to look around. Honestly, you tend to look around. Jy wil hê jou familie moet sê, "Hy Shane, Sharon, julle kry baie, weet sy seker nou swaar nou, weet." And but in my case, I can say that did not happen. God leaves us there in that situation alone. And I verstaan jy nie hoekom nie. When you are in there, you don't understand why am I here? En hoekom sien niemand dan nie? Hoekom sien niemand my struggles? Ek sukkel om dit te doen en dat te doen. And I'm talking about basic things in life. Om to survive with groceries, om to survive with school fees, basic things. But God leaves us in that situation. Sometimes he leaves us, sometimes he sends someone. He sends someone to come and help you. But he leaves us alone in order for us to grow, to build character, in order to stand. And the important thing, after you had a breakup of a relationship or a marriage or whatever it is, that you must be able to stand.
Yes. Yes.
That is what is very important. God asked Moses, what's that you have in your hand? And whatever God has placed in your hand, no matter how little that salary is, no matter how little you have, God has placed something in your hand. And He will bless and increase that which is in your hand. You need to work. You cannot sit and wait for the blessing to come whoop, to you. No. You need to work with what is in your hand.
Yes.
You have to plan. You know what I did is I used to, and I still do that, but I used to write my budget that looked the same every month, by the way. All the things look the same. But I took the time to rewrite that budget every month so that I can see what I have to work with. What is my income and what is my expenses? So if there is a hole in the pocket, I need to know where is that hole? Where is the money going to? Because I need to survive. So you use that what God has placed in your hand. That is my advice to women out there who are starting over. Moenie na alle mense kyk en kyk wat hulle het en begeer wat ander mense het. No, use what God has placed in your hand and God will build on that which you work with.
Amen. Wow. Thank you so much, Sharon Liberty. One last thing, I'm going to throw a surprise at you. She is not a surprise person at all. She sent me all her stuff from A to Z. I promise you, she is that organized. And she said to me, know when I'm landing, know when I'm starting, know when I'm finishing. But I'm just going to throw one last thing. I know that you said that, God said to Moses, what is that you have in your hand? Besides the rebuilding, somebody is sitting in a situation where they are feeling their life is completely falling apart. They're sitting in a absolute broken situation because they are on the verge of divorce or they are busy divorcing. The emotional trauma that they're facing currently now. Just one sentence, just to try and get somebody out of a frame or state of mind. What would you say to that person if somebody sat in front of you now, completely thinking their life is completely over because they say that, it's like death. It's just that person is alive, divorce. Just one sentence, one word, just to encourage somebody today.
As you said previously, it is not over until God sees his own number one. But when you are in that situation, do not listen to a lot of voices around you. I think the one advantage for me is, maybe it's because of my personality also, ek is nie 'n mens. I'm not a people with a lot of friends and tags and blah, blah, blah. I'm not that. Yeah. But for me, I didn't have a lot of voices giving me advice. Nee, maar no, dit doen. No, you must, no. This is a very, very lonely path. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people say around you. You still have to make a choice. Yes. And what you need to know is whatever it is, whatever the choice I'm going to make is, there is consequences.
Wow.
Whether you stay, whether you go, there's consequences both ways. Sure. So the voices you need to drown out the voices that is around you and focus on what you want to do, what is best for you. At the end of the day, you and your children, but mostly you are the most important person to think of in this situation. You cannot think of other things. But also allow yourself to go through the process. Yes. Because life situations takes you through processes.
Yeah.
En dit baat toe jy gaan half wat omdraai en wil weghardloop en no, you need to go through the process. Go through the pain, go through the hurt. God will take you through it. You cannot escape. You kan nie earphones insit en nou music yourself met die jong mense doen ons met vandag, né? Yeah. As jy met hulle praat dan sit hulle earphones in because I don't want to hear your voice, you know?
My reality.
Yeah. So you cannot do that. You need to face your circumstances. Face whatever you're going through. Face that.
Wow.
Doesn't matter how difficult it is, you need to face that because God will bring you through to the other side. You will have a safe landing on the other side.
Sure, absolutely phenomenal. I love how Sharon is advocating the fact that you need to work through the process. Many of us has learned to nullify our emotions. That's how we grew up. But unfortunately, that is not the reality of life. You need to work through the process, each and every step. And I love how she said, you are going to land safely on the other side. God is a finisher. Thank you, Sharon
Yes.
Liberty, for sharing your testimony, your book, your life, and your time with us today. It was an absolute pleasure with all of the technical glitches. I trust that whoever had to hear this heard this. And also, how do people get a hold of you? You know, are you available for people to get a hold of you? How does it work?
Yes. They can go to my, it's Get Over It book at outlook.com. You can also get the price of the book there. I haven't promoted the book in a long time, but you can get the book, and the book is available at 100 Rand a copy. It's a very, very good price. And if there's church groups, because you will find that the book is designed in such a way that it is that you can use it for young people, because it starts with a journey from your youth
Yes.
and how things went wrong in the youth when you were still very young. So you can get a copy of the book, and you can get it from Get Over It book at outlook.com.
Get Over a book at outlook.com. It's definitely a must read, and it's a multifaceted book. I promise you, that's what she just now spoke about. It starts in your youth. And remember that if something goes wrong in your life, sometimes you got to go back as far as your youth to go and see what went wrong there. So it applies to the youth, it applies to males, it applies to females. Please go and get the book. She's also got a Facebook page. I know. Get Over It. Go and look up the Facebook page, and you are definitely going to be transformed by the content of the book, and where you're going to get a deeper understanding of her journey and where she's been to where she is now. Sharon Liberty, I'm going to remind the people with Mata Munizi, I know the plans I have for you. The landing will be safe on the other side. Thank you for joining me, sis.
Amen.
God bless you. Stay safe. Stay safe. Next time, hopefully you're going to be live in the studio with me. Lekker Saterdag vir julle. Mooi bly.